yesterday is Thursday. Well, no, that is the critical drinker's thoughts and what he has to say. But let's start with greetings before we get into the title. Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm your host here.
Guy in the chair.
He said it.
Yes, and today we'll be going over the new Superman, or James Gunn Superman. So let's enjoy.
Honestly, I go away on holiday for a few days and what feels like the biggest controversy in pop culture blows up across the internet. Out of all the movies I expected to be a lightning rod for conspiracy theories, political tug-of-wars, and the kind of explosive fan warfare that makes the Snyderverse look like a polite disagreement over afternoon tea, the last one I predicted was James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn. But not to worry, dear viewer, because the drinker is back to bring order out of chaos, restore balance to a world gone mad, and pronounce the final verdict on James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn. And damn, man, what a delightfully optimistic, frustratingly flawed, and thoroughly weird movie this turned out to be. On the plus side, the casting is excellent. David Corenswet turned out to be a perfect choice for the Man of Steel. The script doesn't try to diminish or deconstruct him, just to massage some smug filmmaker's nihilistic ego, but instead presents him as a flawed but good-hearted man, doing his best to navigate a complex world. There's a strong theme of heroism and positivity running through the movie, a refreshing lack of political agenda, and some genuinely great dramatic moments that made me think, yup, James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn actually understands what people want from a Superman movie. In short, its heart is definitely in the right place, and when James Gunn manages to get out of his own way, he's able to deliver a strong take on Superman that feels fresh and different but still vital and timeless. That being said, it's still very much a James Gunn movie with all the baggage that entails. The plot is a schizophrenic mess that drops you right into the middle of a story that's halfway told already. The humour that worked so well in the Guardians movies now feels forced, dated, out of place, and gratingly annoying. There's way too many characters for the script to sustain them all, and the story hinges on a big lore-changing revelation that I'm pretty sure is going to piss off comic book fans. Basically, James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn is a bit of a mess. A creative and well-meaning mess, but a mess all the same. Neither great nor terrible, but a flawed creation based on flawed ideas, and a perfect example of why just throwing a bunch of talented people together with no thought for their creative sensibilities doesn't always guarantee a great end product. Anyway, I'll give you a brief idea of the story so you know what you're dealing with here. The film ditches the usual origin story and instead picks up a few years into Superman's career, where he's recently intervened to prevent a war in Eastern Europe. For now at least, and is busy fighting a losing battle to Ultraman. But it turns out this was all just a distraction by Lex Luthor so he could find the Fortress of Solitude and steal information that would allow him to defeat Superman. I mean, considering what Ultraman is eventually revealed to be, he already has everything he needs to take Superman down, but whatever, let's just go with it. Anyway, Luthor eventually finds and decodes a message from Jor-El telling Superman to conquer and subjugate the peoples of Earth, which naturally doesn't go down too well when it gets released to the public. Superman's forced to turn himself into the US government so he can try to clear his name, but instead he gets handed over to Luthor, who sends him to a pocket universe that he created to hold superpowered prisoners, because apparently that's a thing you can just do now.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Oh yeah, and if you were following the leaks, this is also where he keeps his army of mutated monkeys chained to computers who work night and day to stoke anti-Superman resentment on social media. Yes, this is real. This is a thing which is in the movie.
Right.
Honestly, a couple of dozen guys in an office in India could have done the same job with less effort, but what can I say? It's James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn. Also, you'd think the ability to create entire universes would kind of negate the need to fight one man for control of a tiny fraction of one planet. But again, whatever, just don't think about it too much. Anyway, with Superman out of action, it's up to Lois Lane to join forces with the Justice Gang. And yes, that's another thing which is in this movie.
You are now a life member of the Groovy Gang.
To clear his name and find a way to rescue him so he can stop Lex Luthor and his dastardly plans before they tear the entire planet apart.
Groovy!
Now, you probably don't need me to tell you that there was a fuck ton of expectation riding on this movie. Not only did it have to vindicate James Gunn as the new head of the franchise, but it also had to relaunch a whole new version of Superman, kickstart the entire DCU, and save the future of superhero movies single-handed. Because let's be honest here, something tells me the Fantastic Four isn't going to get the job done. It was a pretty tall order to begin with, and to be honest, I'm not sure it accomplishes any of those things, never mind all of them. Like I said before, there's definite positives to be drawn from this film, so don't go thinking it's all doom and gloom. David Corenswet was a solid casting choice for Superman. He's earnest and sincere, he's definitely got the right look for the character, and he plays well off Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. In the hands of a different creative, a modern-day Lois could have come across as a smug, abrasive girl boss, but she never does. She challenges him on his beliefs at times, but it feels like it comes from a well-intentioned place, and not some insecure need to assert moral superiority over him. Krypto the Superdog was another divisive aspect of the trailers. Some people loved him, others hated him, but really, he's not a big deal in the movie at all. He shows up from time to time when the script needs him, and then conveniently vanishes when it doesn't. The Justice Gang are a bit of an odd choice though. Apart from Mr. Terrific, they don't have much to do except fight the odd monster in the background, and that really pisses me off because Nathan Fillion deserves better, goddammit. There was also a pretty huge fucking debate raging around whether this film had some political axe to grind, mostly due to a misquoted Variety interview with James Gunn that was then amplified by absolute retards like Mark Melkin.
But Agatha is the gayest, gayer and gayer as each episode goes.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
You can almost feel how desperate he is to lead the cast into saying something, anything controversial for clicks and retweets.
Superman is an immigrant story, that it is political. MAGA today was getting a little upset that he called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction. Your brother talked about Superman being an immigrant, and now MAGA is already upset that he's called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction. You said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA?
Seriously, guys, in case you haven't figured it out by now, entertainment journalists are not your friends and never have been. Anyway, all that aside, I'm happy to say that James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn absolutely isn't a political movie. It's not out to lecture you on anything, and it's not trying to make a statement on modern day issues. As Nathan Fillion says,
It's just a movie, guys.
the only problem, though, is that it's not a particularly good Superman movie, and a lot of that problem stems from James Gunn himself. I think it's about time people stopped worshipping this guy like he's some cinematic messiah sent down to save Hollywood. His recent track record has been spotty at best, and although he's definitely good at what he does only works within a pretty narrow comfort zone, and if he's forced to step too far outside it, he seems kind of lost and uninspired. I get the feeling he would have much rather made a Justice Gang movie because it would have played to all his favourite sensibilities as a filmmaker, forcing another bunch of likeable misfits to work together to take down a bigger threat. But there was too much riding on this film for him to trust it to anyone else, and so we ended up with a Superman movie that can't quite seem to keep its focus on Superman. Another shortcoming of Gunn's that's become more obvious in recent years is the humour. When it comes to writing dialogue, Gunn is basically a second-generation follower of Whedonism. Much like Taika Waititi, he seems to understand what made Joss Whedon's writing so effective in superhero movies and definitely knows how to replicate it effectively, but what he lacks is Whedon's finely tuned sense of restraint. A bit of carefully crafted levity at just the right moment can really enhance a dramatic scene, but too much at the wrong time soon becomes an irritating distraction, and that's exactly what Superman suffers from. Every time the movie's on the brink of some intense, heartfelt moment, it's almost always undercut by some shitty, badly executed joke, like it's afraid to ever take itself seriously. Not every movie has to be Guardians of the Galaxy, James. You're allowed to move on in life. There's just so much shit thrown at you in this film, so many characters that don't get the time and space they need to breathe and develop, so much world-changing technology and truncated subplots that it becomes kind of overwhelming after a while. By the time the credits rolled, I actually felt tired of it all. It's a film that never quite finds its narrative focal point, that's in such a rush to introduce so much new stuff that it ends up getting in its own way. And it doesn't help that it feels like we're dropped into a story halfway through the telling, like there should have been another movie before this one to properly introduce Superman, Lex Luthor, and the Justice Gang. Instead, they're all just thrown into the mix without any explanation, like we're just expected to know who and what everyone is. And yeah, I know most people know who Superman and Lex Luthor are by this point, but this isn't just a new version of these characters we're seeing here, it's a complete relaunch of the world that they're part of. It should be epic and significant, but instead it just feels like the middle entry of a trilogy, or a by-the-numbers mid-phase Marvel movie. Just business as usual, just another forgettably mid-superhero flick that happens to have Superman in it. Add all these problems together and you end up with a film that's somehow overshadowed by its own creator, that can't seem to get out of its own way, and that fails to live up to the impossible expectations placed on it. Superhero movies really have reached a fork in the road of destiny this year and desperately needed something to get them on the right path again. The Marvel juggernaut is fallen to pieces, Sony have abandoned whatever the fuck they were hoping to accomplish with the leftovers, and DC have been unsuccessfully relaunched and reinvented more times than Katy Perry at this point. None of it seems to be working, and as much as this movie makes a valiant effort, I don't think James Gunn's Superman by James Gunn is going to turn it around. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Hey guys, I hope y'all alright. Me myself, I didn't go see the movie. I'm waiting till it comes out on DVD or when it comes on TV. Excuse me, Lord. Yeah, I'm still a fan of Henry Cavill, so I didn't want to feel like I betrayed him to go see that. And I heard it's not the great anyway. But you might have, and that's okay. I don't expect anyone to do anything that I don't say I wouldn't do, but hey, that's for cutter still. But by all means, give me a like, comment, share, and then subscribe. But I'll leave with this number right here. I'll be an awesome night, and the rest of your day go really well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.